evening. Because really this is your open mic. And I always tell people that it's not about me. I don't come here to read my own poems, and a lot of times I'll even read work by a friend instead. So I'm just going to kick this off. And we're going to start off with a gentleman who I met in St. Louis, but he came up last weekend because Damian Rucci was in for about 24 hours, and we all sort of hung out, and he's just a super good guy, and I really look forward to hearing what he's got, and that's T. James Chapman.
Oh, yeah, I got to look good. I know what Casey is, right? Oh, anyway, I went back to jail last night, so I wrote this poem this morning. Like cowboy boots on packed down snow, I slid through life. I busted my ass. I love the way the bruises look after a week so wise and yellow. I thrive on acceleration and accelerants. I see turbulence and rip through it like a tugboat. My pop pulled a jacked up truck out of a ditch with a 94 Chrysler Bear. I need to pull some poems out of my ass, mainly to catch a felony for inspiration. But I'm too scared to check case name. We're lucky enough to get first edition of this, and I ran out, so I printed up some more. If y'all want one, just holler at me. This is also about going to jail. Different time though. This is called Guys on Merle and Johnny's Paycheck. We knew they were coming, we just weren't sure when. They knew we were there and were waiting for their chance. We slept in the same bed the night before and about every beer can we could. Our biggest fear was getting caught with booze. Early the next morning, SWAT busted down our door. We knew they were coming, and right then we knew when. Single file, long guns drawn, dressed just like the movies. Men in polo shirts that tied our wrists and sat against the wall. They weren't too interested in our empties, natty, beast, etc. It's wood burned on my memory the way they dug, looking for guns we didn't have and rifling through my music. Who's the Merle Haggard fan? A cop smirked. Our tattered shirts and dyed hair didn't help us. There was no way in hell we listened to grandpa music. I regret to this day not belting out Mama Tried. My country collection was now state's evidence, but guys like Merle and Johnny Paycheck, they don't snitch. Here's the title track of the book. It's about cult leaders and poets. Holy veil about apocalypse. The neon moon's gonna explode. Keep howling. Cheap caffeine is night vision. Don't ball them fists too tight. Faux fur because we're poor, but we sweat just the same. We're lizards, we're wolves, we're raptors. There's no discrimination. As long as you're here to fuck something up. Rock and roll is all we have. It's all we've ever had. Only a fool believes life holds meaning beyond sleeves. There's only sleeves. Dystopia ain't a distant future. All I ever wanted to be was a leather-clad slave on a leash. Apocalypse roaring around me. Holy Burroughs, holy John Waters, holy Kenneth Anger. I'm a dead rights true believer in this liege. A fringe political death cult zealot. Ain't too many people thirsty these days, so I'll drink a whole gallon of Ice Flavor Aid. Ain't nobody worth nothing. Ain't nobody special. Thank y'all.
All right. It's always nice to make a new friend. Can't have enough. All right. So with that, the next person on our list is going to be a gentleman I do not get to see nearly often enough, and I'm so glad he's here today, Jason Mayer.
I've got a couple of them today. These are ones that Ed took off and didn't get to hear Jimmy read before he left and went to California and became a big shot. Came back for a while. For me, a lot of poetry is therapeutic, so these are therapeutic poems for me. First one's Body Image. I can feel complacency, feel my sedentary lifestyle, see the layers of fat settle, like lard congealing in a jar. I can feel my muscles atrophy as they shrink and wither, growing weaker by the hour, the minute, the second. I can feel my arteries harden as my cholesterol skyrockets. My blood thickens. Fat molecules course through my veins. Death is imminent. I can feel my endurance fading. My breathing becomes labored. I'm winded, climbing stairs. A feeble man, a feeble aging man. The calories climb, reaching higher with every spoonful. Slowly at first, then all at once. But then, I really do love pistachio jelly. Alright. And this is the one, again, you helped me with this little chapbook. It's a one poem chapbook before you left. It was the last thing we published together. It was more of a printout and stuff. It's called Dyslexia. When people hear dyslexia, they think reading disorder, backward words, mixed up sentences, missing numbers. I wish it was that simple. Reading problems are there, but that is a symptom. The real problem is all in my head. No, really. It's literally all in my head. Swimming letters, jumbled numbers, shifting sentences, every sound and range, every visual distraction. It's all in my head. Conversations to the right appear on the left. A table full of people becomes a cloud of confusion. Too many voices, too many conversations. Processing slows to half speed. At its peak, vertigo kicks in. I feel dizzy, not sick, but cloudy, like a London fog. Objects appear, then disappear. Sounds muddle together. Eye contact is crucial, connecting sounds to subjects. Next is tunnel vision, a defensive reaction. It helps to center me. It dulls the senses. I'm forced to concentrate, one conversation at a time. Working hard to let it show, smile for people, focus on fixed objects, deep breaths. I close my eyes for a second, rubbing them for camouflage. I tell people I have mild dyslexia. I don't know why. I don't even know what that means. But it makes me feel better, less weak, less damaged, less mentally ill. It's like telling people I have a mild peg leg. It's still a peg leg. Sure, I can walk on it. It may be shorter than the others, less debilitating than the others, more hidden than the others, but it's still a wooden leg. As a child, it was a reading problem, comprehension problem, spelling problem, behavioral problem, leading to assessments, then evaluations, and finally, the dreaded labels. As a teenager, it was an embarrassment. No one wants to be labeled. Labeled with a disorder, labeled with a mental illness, labeled as slow, labeled as less than. As an adult, it's a mild inconvenience, molded to be mild. After years of coping mechanisms, hours of reading lessons, pages of writing exercises, auditory exercises, breathing exercises, focusing exercises, fine motor activities, word building activities, memory building activities, the never-ending therapy sessions, every session containing new terms, phoneme segmentation, phonological awareness, sing-song reading, eye text tracking, visual process improvement, syllable substitution, syllable stretching, syllable segmentation, letter reversal, letter inversion, word reversal, word transposition, word substitution. These aren't cures, only disorder management, coping mechanisms. Now I cling to those mechanisms like a warm blanket when the fog comes, when the letters swim, when the confusion sets in. I find solace in those mechanisms. I have assimilated them. They're part of me now, along with my dyslexia.
It's really good to see you, man. I want to say one thing. Agnes was asking me whether she could play her music when she came in, and I do want to stress for everyone here and everyone who may have watched this, we are not strictly a poetry open mic. majority of what we get. But I would love to have just about everything here, music, like whatever you want. We talked about some theater point. I'm open to all of it. So, want the outside world to know that. Alright. So, I am going to call up this next gentleman because we have an adorable baby here. But I'm gonna, because the baby's here, you never know how long a baby can stand to be in one room with this many people, and she'll respect that. I'm going to call up David Bates. Nathan.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Well, I didn't start off being a poet. I had a buddy. I was hoping he was going to be here tonight, but he is not doing well health-wise. But I knew him in college in the dormitory, and he would blow me away. He could sit down and just recite long poetry, and I was envious. And I'm too stupid to do that. So I decided, I started writing a book in 2014, and I'm still writing the darn thing. And the reason it's taking me so long is, besides the fact that when I started out, I really didn't know how to tell a story. But I also want it to be beautiful, and the problem is I keep trying to write poetic prose. And so I think 20 years from now, it'll probably be finished, maybe, I don't know. So I was envious of this guy able to just memorize these long poems, and one of the things that poetry started doing for me was, it helps me be a better writer for my novel and my short stories. And it lets me write the way I want to write, which is poetically, all right? I want it to be beautiful, I want it to be a good story, but more than anything, I want it to be remembered as being beautiful. All right, so in defense, I wrote this book, all short stories, or short poems, and I wanted the poems to be short enough to be memorized. I write them, you memorize them, okay? That's the rule. So that's why all the tabs here, I picked out ones that I might actually be able to read out loud. So, that said, and I even got parts of my novel in here and parts of some of my short stories as well. So anyway, I just thought I'd go through, and since this was Valentine's Day this last week, this is actually one that I memorized. This is one of my first poems. I have to, sorry, I'm just taking up all the time here. I just want my granddaughter to make a lot of noise, so I'll get more attention. In my book, when you buy it, at 50% off, how to read my poetry. Basically, I started off writing 4-line poems. But then I wanted it, when I write poetry, I decided, I want to say something without really saying it. And so I went to 5-line poems. And basically, the rule is the first line and the last line rhyme. And that would be standing alone as a poem by itself. And then I put in 3 lines in between that also rhyme, but they filled in details. So I want each poem to be a little bit of a mystery. You got to figure out the puzzle of what it is, all right? And each time I wanted to be inspired, I would get a picture of something or other, and I would write a poem about that picture. And then in my book, in order to give you the idea of what it's about, the picture has to go along with the poem. So you get sort of the hint. This is the very first poem that I really wrote that I was really proud of. It was 4 lines long, and it's called Valentine's Day. And so it goes very simple. There once was a day where one would say, I love you, or I can't remember its name, where one would say, I love you, and the other would say the same. Picture. This is how like a kindergarten, I got the picture while I do it. Okay. All right. So let's see. I had another one here somewhere. Oh, there she goes. Yeah, there you are. All right. This is a sunrise on a winter day, but spring is coming soon. Speak to the morning sun. Speak to the morning sun. Speak to the dew. Speak of the winds calm from trees bent. Tell of night's cold, tell of Nora's bitter breath, hard scent, and sigh, bathing now in their sweet, warming blue. Picture. You can stop and ask questions anytime, you know, like, we should be sitting on the floor cross-legged with our beanies or something.
Some of us aren't limber enough for that.
Okay, this is another one. This is another picture that's a sunrise, but it's the beginning of spring, okay? The beginning of spring. Through spring has no say in what is to come, but in stormy fights push back north. And she sings morning songs, encouraging buds and nests come forth, while she dresses the entrance for soul to enter from. Okay, this one is kind of taking me back a long, long time ago when I was just a teenager. I gotta stop. I gotta warn you here. I inherited something from my mother, and my mother could cry at the drop of a hat, and I could say, "Mom, it's raining outside," because she just had this emotional aspect to her, and so I kind of inherited that. And so if I start choking up, I don't want you to be embarrassed for me, okay? In fact, you know, you might, you know, yell at me and say, "Get over it, Lay." So if I choke up, don't worry, don't feel bad for me. I don't feel bad for me. I'm okay with it, okay? Actually, I knew a guy that sang country and western music. I mean, these are tearjerkers. I asked him, "How do you get through these songs without crying?" And he said, "Well, you got to do it about 100 times." I don't know. I'm going to commit suicide if I did that. Okay, this is at the dinner table, and this is actually about what it was like to eat at our dinner table when I was a teenager. And this is a picture of a table that has been cleared, and it's evening, and the woman is sitting by the window, sewing. Looks like remembrance of a dinner table. Sometimes light places this so. Gives to you a smell, and their mother clinks fork to plate, smiles, sighs, brothers, other laughs, father with mischief in his mouth and eyes, and takes you to a time of laughter and to stories to tell. 1965, I'm going to tell you that right now. That's about when that happened. Oh, poor mom. She had to put up with all of us boys. Okay, this is a picture from my farm, and there's a mist coming up, and it's sunrise, and so this is a gathering of souls. Should there be a gathering of souls in distant mists, I would mourn their leaving as sun lifts them up, carrying them to heavens beyond, taken from me and my joy in their presence sup. And I now alone feel sun's calling in that warm light kiss. See, thanks a lot, Mom. All right. Tell me to get over it, lady. Come on, let's try that. Get over it.
I'm not going to feel bad for a man with a mustache like yours.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm going with Mark Twain for now. Okay, this is actually a Maxfield Parrish drawing, and this reminds me a lot of my childhood. We would always go on adventures, and we'd spend our summers on my grandparents' farm, and this is a mill, so smells of mist. I see in that coral labyrinth a lost place I once played, deep in my mind's eye where smells of mist dampened my face, and trees light flickered on auburn hair kissed, and there too were friends by me in quiet awe stayed. And I gotta read this. I won't read all of them. So this is a picture of my bull, Little Bull, and Little Bull was in this other field. This is on the other side of the farm, and it was a morning, of course, and there's always a mist in my valleys. By the way, if there's ever a fog or mist, get your camera out, get out there. That's just all I'm saying. And he was so lonely as I was walking by. He was giving me a dirty look, really. And so it just reminded me of Ghost. And so this is called Heart's Dance. Do not pass him who asks with begging eyes, he who only asks for your simple glance, whose ghost sits behind watching, wants only a voice touching heart's dance. Give him then your presence, hear his silent cries. I better make this short.
You got a whole book.
Yeah, no, sorry. Okay, this is from my novel. The name of the novel is The Man Who Watched a Pig Sleeping. And the picture, it's just an old house with a window in it. But basically, I won't give away the story, but the protagonist is walking through his grandparents' house. It's abandoned, basically. And of course, he spent a lot of time on this farm, playing, and he knew his grandparents, and this was a familiar place to him. And he walked over to the window, and he's looking through the window, through the old window. Through that old window, he saw a murderous cacophony of black spirits, holding a congress of some great meaning, angered by a chattering red visitant who raised the question of propriety. And that's the way my poems, that's what I want to do. See, that's a puzzle.
Yeah.
Can you figure out what it was saying? Black spirits, crows, and shadowy red visitant. Okay, and so that's why it's taking so darn long to write. 2014, I started that novel. Okay. I won't do this. This is from a short story. I know this is one that I actually memorized, but I'm going to read it anyway so I don't mess it up. This is actually a picture of me laying with one of my calves and one of my cats. The calf was born during a snowstorm. Yeah. And when I found her, the mom was really trying to get it up, but it was half frozen. I thought it was dead. And I got up there and I saw her eye blank, and she was died. And I got her warmed up, and then I got her into bed with me, and I actually slept with her for several nights just to keep her warm. And so that is the calf. That is Katrina, for Storm, duh. And the little kitten is one that was born in my closet, and the mother abandoned her, and so I raised her from being adult. So this is Christmas Eve, with a baby calf tucked neatly under my beard, and a kitty fast asleep on my belly. I fall asleep, sleeping soundly, dreaming of peanut butter and jelly. Peace to all, and to all a good night.
There you go, to St. Elliot of Southern Missouri. All right. I think the baby approves, so. All right, so with that, I'm going to go in a completely different direction because I'm interested to hear what she has, and call up Agnes.
So I played here in September 2019 when Brad Adams had his exhibit, and I remember the acoustics is so nice in here, so I decided today I'm not going to read poems, I'm going to play some songs oriented by King Close. So this is a true story. The song is called Do Not Believe in Omens. You're agonizing over your decision.
But if future had designed your disaster bound, you better play it safe, shut up and listen to the voice that says if you're not absolutely certain, it probably is a stupid choice.
Alright, it was hard, it was coming in from the cold and
All the musicians in the room get it.
I long to see the mountains that you know call home, the woods, the fields, and the river where you roam. I understand why you have to go away, but still I miss you every day. You never ride a ball, the distance is so far. You might as well be living on another star. I hope that you find what you seek, and that I may stop missing you someday. Stop missing you someday.
I think I forgot a course. We do one more.
You're a nomad at heart and you share your persona like a snake sheds her skin. Rebirth is your way of escape. You're never too old to begin. When your house becomes cluttered and you can't find any more reason to stay, you just close the front door and away. Beam a confident smile, walk away. Months later, a full smile arrives from an unexpected place. I find home, I found my tribe. I am finally in the right space, and you'll give yourself completely to new home and new cause and new joy. With a wonder like nobody else I know, with a fire I cannot describe. But at some point your baggage arrives, sent on from your last address. As that passes and can't catch up with you, you grow restless and are in distress, and you'll be on the road again, on your search for the promised land, driven towards the unknown by a hunger I don't understand. 'Cause you're a nomad at heart and you shed your persona like a snake sheds her skin. Rebirth is your way of escape. You're never too hurt. You're never too broken. You're never afraid to begin.
Hey, Miss, that was awesome. Did you, when you perform with Greg, was that any of the material from that time, or is this different stuff?
This is all different stuff. The things with Greg were all ekphrastic, they were all songs based on
his paintings.
I thought I recalled that.
So this is all different stuff.
Gotcha.
And this is
All right.
beautiful space.
Except for the little lies I tell myself.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure there are more than that.
That painting,
I
right?
did.
Wow.
All right. We're not counting the big lies. Those are just the little ones.
Well, you know, if you get enough little ones, it's the same as the big one.
All right. In that vein, you know, not that she's on the list, but Bela, if you want to sing, you're welcome to.
I actually brought poems and didn't sign up because I noticed how many people. had
No,
signed
you're
up.
welcome to. You're welcome to. If you want me to put you on the list, I'm not saying I'm going to call you up next, but I'll put you on the list.
No, okay.
All right. So the next person I'm going to call up is my good friend. Oh, there you go. There you like inspired me. All right. The next person I'm going to call just for you and for you is Mr. Gary Gowers. The ambush continues. Gary recently had a new collection of poems come out, published by Ed Nemus Happy Duck Publishing. He has that book with him. I suppose, oh, it's over there. Okay, Gary Gowers.
And also,
What's that?
is this yours?
That's my stuff, but yeah. And to appease Tony, if you can do as close to the light or as close to that light here as possible.
How's that? Speaking of Tony, the first one's for Tony. Oh yeah, as per Mark's instructions. This one's over on the table, also a novel from a few years ago, it is also over there. Fifth Floor Francis, which John likes there. Yeah. First one's about work, because Tony likes that. And I like them too. Because there's always, I work at a convenience store part-time, and there's so much weird shit that happens there. This one's called Fine Young Cannibal. Another dull shift at the register, and I was leaning against the counter to take some weight off my feet, and walked a local representative of Law and Order, a polite, handsome young guy, a regular with a badge. How are you tonight? I'm good. Yourself? Not so bad. Actually, I'm starving. You guys got any sandwiches left? There were some left on the rack. Have a peek. The cop went over to the sandwich rack, took a look, and came walking back with a sandwich wrapped in shiny silver foil. What did you find? Pulled pork. I wrinkled up my nose in disgust and shook my head. Ugh. What? He asked. Cannibal. Wait for you to get it. He stopped walking towards the register, tilted his head to the side, and closed his eyes, a half grin sneaking out. He looked at me with his hands resting on his gun belt. Really? Just to let you know, officer, we're on camera right now. That's Officer Baldwin in Owensville. He's got a great sense of humor. Oh, here's one for dating over the age of 50.
Don't do it.
It's called Safe Assumption. I could be making an ass out of you and me, but the talking stopped when you entered the room. All eyes were on the lifted bosom, the fishnet legs, the bedroom eyes. Trouble with a capital T, coming my way. All pearly whites and cruel intent. I was never more thankful for my low testosterone. This one's called Casualty, because people say the stupidest things, and I just couldn't let this go. It's called Casualty. You say you're 30, and you've dodged the marriage bullet a few times. That may be true, but you have 4 kids by 4 different men. You may have dodged the marriage bullets, but you've been poked full of holes by bayonets.
called Mantis Boy. And I'm glad the baby left because it has a curse word. Mantis Boy. The male mantis goes in knowing that once he busts his nut, he's only got a matter of seconds or less to get the fuck out of there. Yet he goes for it indeed. He'll find the lady mantis, however that's achieved, and dance around until the lady mantis lets him in close. Then bam, he's on her, banging away mantis style until sploosh gets it done. This is no time to reflect on how awesome that lady mantis pussy was. No time to roll over and have a smoke. Get your senses together and your legs back under you. Flee, Mantis Boy, flee. Nope, she ate his head right off. That's how pissed the lady mantis gets if she doesn't come. Sound familiar?
So that's your favorite sexual position is mantis style.
Mantis style. Not to be confused with the kung fu. This next one. The Stardust High Horse. Excuse me. I am Stardust. I was born from the cosmos, infinitely linked to the heavens. A catalyst of transformation from stardust to life to me. The same goes for the chicken I had for dinner last night. She was born of stardust too, linked to the cosmos, life, heavens, catalyst, transformation, yada, yada, yada. See where that got her. That's it. Then this last one, it's not a smart ass one. This one, my family's, as you get older, your family gets smaller. You know, people dropping off, dying. And I was thinking about eulogies. And they never say the right stuff in eulogies. This one's called Speaking of the Dead. It says, the most interesting details about people are not often mentioned in their eulogies. My uncle snuggled with kittens. He'd put them under his chin and hold them smiling when nobody watched. My grandma laughed deceptively. She laughed quietly when she was really tickled, and loudly at slight amusements. My grandpa was a macho man, but he was aware of the limitations in others and didn't put them down for coming up short. My dad wasn't as tough as he acted. I never told him, but I saw him cry a couple of times when he was alone. I can only wonder why. And you can bet the most relevant and telling details about you will never get mentioned when your turn in the box comes around. I think I'll stop there.
What do you want to do, man?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
All right, now that you have me thinking about mantles in all the wrong ways. I wanted to tell everyone in town that we now have another additional fried chicken buffet, and that's important to me. The Sit Bowl has their own fried chicken buffet on Saturdays now. But I would argue that the chicken may well be the best fried chicken in town. But, all right. So with that, I am going to call up the next person, and that is going to be Jocelyn Gale.
So I'm going to be kind of firing off these poems. I've written a bunch recently, and so I haven't really decided what I'm going to grab for you. So this is going to be a mystery for us both. I'm going to start with one. It's called skydiving. So a lot of what I've been writing lately is about relationships, the ebbs and flows of relationships, the cycles of relationships. And about 14 months or so ago, my marriage was at the end of its cycle. And of course, when you're at the end, you don't realize that that's what's happening, but it was. And part of what marked that end for us was my soon-to-be ex-husband went on a skydiving trip. He was gifted a skydiving trip. So he went skydiving, and that changed a lot, so that's what this is coming from. Skydiving. Oh, and I wrote this, he went skydiving on his birthday, and I wrote this on the anniversary of that day. This time last year, you stepped out of a plane and took flight. It changed you, you said. From up there, you were a giant. The world was so small. Our problems were so small. In fact, from up there, you couldn't see me at all. When you touched down, you resolved to see the world from that perspective. You resolved to be a giant. You resolved to never see me at all. This time this year, you are firmly on the ground. From up here, you've been compressed to less than a pixel. So much smaller now than the world and all its problems. And now that I am nowhere to be found, perhaps you realized I was the reason you flew at all. So when those endings are coming, a lot of those endings can be repetitive, right? Part of the beauty of poetry is that we share a lot of experiences and we can encapsulate them in language. And language that appears a lot when relationships are ending is this phrase, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. Lots of us have heard that, and hearing that, there's a lot of cognitive dissonance there. It's hard to understand what that means. So I took that phrase and I tried to break it down word by word to see what this means. So every word in this poem, or every line in this poem starts with one of those words. I love you, but I'm not in love with you. So I'll try to signal that. I love you, but I'm not in love with you. I am sustained by that which you provide, and I love that you give yourself wholly, obligatorily. You set fire to my soul and built gardens from the embers. But since our seed became perennials, I've grown weary of watering and weeding. I'm yearning for the fire again, not for lack of warmth, because your glow sustains the garden, but in my entitlement, in my comfort, I've confused love with destruction. You have nothing to do with that. So I'll skip past the endings into the beginning. So this is a short little poem. I have found myself into a new relationship that is very healthy, very stable, something that I didn't expect to find myself in quite so soon. Agnes warned me about this a year ago, that sometimes that happens and the poetry is like, okay, now what? So this is encapsulating that feeling. This is called There's Nothing I Cannot Say to You. There is nothing I cannot say to you. You have witnessed my story. You have heard my testimony and the testimony against me. You have subscribed to my channel and loved every episode. I have confessed no truth that has made you cringe. I have explored no path that has made you turn. I have exposed no wound that has made you pounce. There is nothing I cannot say to you. What, then, can I write? So the last one that I'm going to read actually comes from a poetry game that we were talking about generative poetry groups. And Agnes runs one on campus for a small mighty group. We get together and we just generate. And we put a bunch of words up on the board and we try to come up with poetry from that. So this poem came from that. I can't remember exactly which words in this poem were triggered by that experience, but that's what this is about. So this one's called The Spell. Was it the candle that cast the spell? The iridescent flicker emerging from the wick, grappling with that which would have been, had ill intent not been
scorched into vapor? Was it the cauldron that cast the spell, a belly of iron steaming as it digests herb, oil, and stone, each earthly element an arsenal against that which would have been? Was it the incense purifying the future with fragrant smoke? Was it the chanting, breath twisting the flame into its most powerful manifestation? Or perhaps that which would have been was always vapor, always transient. And I needed to remember that as long as I am here, among earth, air, fire, and water, I am the spell.
I'd like to make an announcement and just tell you when our next event here will be, because I did not do that when we started. The next event that I will be hosting here will be March 30th, which is a Saturday. It'll be at 6 o'clock like it typically is. It will have an open mic like this does, but it will be a featured event with our friend Jim Z. McGowan from St. Louis, as well as Rick Christensen, who lives in Wentzville. The two of them are going to be here. I specifically asked Jim because Jim is going to be the artist who will be exhibiting here at that the following day. His show opens the 31st, and he'll be here on the 30th because he's got to set that up. So just so you guys know, and you can always ask me again and I'll tell you, I've actually put together the schedule now for the rest of 2024, so I have all of it. All right. So, the next person. Yes.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Speaking of that, Mark, did you get my email with all of that? I sent that to you and Tony and Jason and Colin.
No, I haven't looked at it. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw it in my inbox.
Okay. Cool. All right. So moving forward, the next person I'm going to call up, I do not know at all. So there should be. I'm always interested to hear new people. I'm always excited when they knock me out. If you don't, sometimes I'll let you know if I'm in a bad mood. I'm in a good mood today, so either way. But so I'm going to call up Shelly Norris. Shelly. Step under our interrogation line.
I'm going to pretend you all are my students. Take a breathe. David, I share your tendency to break up and choke up, so I tried to pick things where I wouldn't, but once in a while a line like suddenly surprises you, and you go, oh God, that's in the gut. Agnes, thank you for inviting me. I'm reading a few pieces from my book, which is in the press right now, Hyperbola, mostly written during COVID isolation, and a lot of the pieces were generated in our Zoom poetry group, and this one was. There's a backstory. It's February, it's Valentine visitation. My husband gave me COVID on Valentine's Day. And I also heard that my dogs could catch COVID.
Oh yeah. No.
I was vaccinated, he was not. He had it way worse than I did, so. Valentine visitation. A traveling troupe of thespians, wearing their hearts upon their sleeves, the merle of red-winged blackbirds returns. The winter seed barrel runs low, nearly empty. The bird feeder himself bathes in fever and quarantine. We now speak in past tense of two old friends, too young to die. Our portable world immobilized, our normal collapsed. We waver on the cusp of Pisces, awaiting the shift to peace and spirit, wondering when the air will waft clairvoyant with eucalyptus for us again. I welcome February's vortex, trusted newscasters commanding stay off the roads, the frozen honeysuckle canes dripping ice diamonds. I need the contrast of warm, red-winged black bodies pecking atop cold white crust. I know the crystals are clear, the translucent white, a prank of light, played by my tetrachromatic cones. Who cares? I require the simplicity of binary yes, no questions, either or options, false, positive results. I need the present tense angst of real and wheel and murmur and wail to conjugate to gerunds, stretching forth towards supernatural salvation, toward a future where it is finally okay to kiss the dogs, to kiss each other fearlessly. This one is titled, What If Wednesday? It's not short. What if Wednesday? We were yakking over scalding black coffee about linking QR codes to soldiers' stories, about who could write and curate the stories, about museums turning away footlockers of weapons and historic war memorabilia because they store caches of it in their basements, and what is missing are the dead warriors' stories. We were talking about how to block memory quilts from old t-shirts, and next Monday is Memorial Day, when Pam remembered she forgot the book on tinnitus. I'll try to get that to you, she said, maybe on a Wednesday. And I laughed, because what if Wednesday were tentative as possibly, optional as extra credit, a real maybe day? Just woke up foggy after tiptoeing home late from Tuesday, faced into a cracked mirror and said, nope. What if Wednesday made other plans or needs a day off like Saturday, except Saturdays with minimum wage jobs who work weekends, or took up its namesake's vocation as Lord of Frenzy? What if Wednesday, born of woe, acted out as the overshadowed middle, developed avoidant attachment style and ran away, or played childish pranks like a one-eyed white-bearded god, or retired to resume wandering Midgard in the company of ravens and wolves, or demanded we learn to correctly pronounce all 170 iterations of its names, or eloped with Friday. What if Wednesday caught COVID at the office and miffed for being mistaken as Mercury and weary of Hebrews, Christians, and Muslims bickering over whether it is the third or fourth day of the week, and still pissed from all the annoying hump day jokes, said to hell with all you SOBs, and checked itself into an ER, refused to ventilate, and expired in peace? What if we were denied a final visit? Would we miss it? Weekly thanking gods for Friday, have we slighted Wednesday? Could we leap from Tuesday to Thursday over Wednesday's dead body? What if Wednesday went to war and didn't make it back? Or did? All blown apart with scars. A loose hour here, a mangle of minutes there. What if Wednesday were fickle and unreliable as Monday and war are certain? So this last one fell out as a sonnet, much to my joy. I'm from Wyoming. I was born and raised in Wyoming. So that's kind of the location of my soul. And this is titled Things I Miss. This vulnerable house of cluttered rooms rests upon a sandwich atop the New Madrid fault zone, a flatland region lacking subterranean stones to absorb quakes and the 1,000 aftershocks rippling out amplified by layers of soft sediment. Ignoring that is not the same as being fine. Damage spreads faster, radiates farther here in the heartland than out west, where roots of fold ranges anchor against one another like crowded molars, stabilizing the broken earth. Now there's something to believe in. Jutting sawtooth stone monoliths, shouldering the sky, holding it all in place.
like to get new people. It's great to have you.
I'll be back.
And for the sake of shameless self-promotion, I wanted to say that next Tuesday, I believe it's 7 o'clock, I will be reading at the Rolla Public House.
6, please. 6 o'clock.
What's that?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, okay.
We would have waited
See, I
for
would have
you.
shown up
We would have waited for you, but please come at 6.
Why? I kept thinking it was 7, but all right.
And by the way, Shelley is reading on March 19th.
Oh, cool.
My birthday.
Awesome.
Oh, cool.
Well, happy birthday in
Happy
advance.
pre-birthday.
Because clearly I don't remember things, so happy
Yeah.
birthday. All right. So with that, we're gonna change pace again and bring up my very, very, very close friend who I have missed tremendously. And it's fantastic to have him here, Mr. Richard Clevenger. Yep, that's a man with a stomach full of chicken right there.
That is right. All right, so I'm not gonna talk too much about these pieces and just jump into them. One Saturday in September. Let me get rid of this. If it goes off, just
In my pocket, and then everyone can blame me.
that's right. A bright morning sky turned dusk dark by afternoon. The growl of thunder at 2:17 p.m. sounds no different than the growl of thunder at any other time. Whoa. Wind gusts capture the attention of everything they flagrantly force themselves upon. Swiftly ripped from branches, I see leaves float away from all they have ever known. The ones that remain in the treetops tremble at the looming possibility of being next. Heavy rain is expected within the hour. A woman sits watching a documentary about adoptive people reuniting with their birth parents. I sit beside her thinking about all the leaves hitting the ground and wonder if the grass ever gives a damn about being trapped under the weight of everything. A mix of sadness and joy in my hands, her hands. So, all of these are written in the haibun style, where you get a piece and then you have a haiku either before or after in the middle, and just getting into starting to read these, so it may be a little fucked up if there's a pause and then a small, but we'll figure it out. Grayson, 5 years old, and she said, I don't want baby coloring books anymore. So her mother tore a page out of an adult coloring book, a new fad of designs with hundreds of lines that confine color to create intricacies. I took an orange pencil and filled in a tiny sliver of a butterfly wing. She told me, Dad, I know what I'm doing. So I left her alone with her page of adult relaxation and went to finish washing the breakfast dishes. When I returned a few minutes later, there had been a gleeful detonation, a color bomb, explosion that reached far beyond the confining lines. And I said, what in the world? And she said with cockiness, see, I told you so. Memory lane, all the art stuck to refrigerators. So this piece, so my grandmother, she would always say, go out to the wood or to her workshop and get something, and you're like, fuck. And this is why. It's all coffee cans. Exhumed nostalgia, the bones of my uncles, plastic cowboys. All labeled Folgers, in aged metal tins with plastic lids. Catherine's workshop was full of all the items that life may someday require, like nuts, bolts, screws, nails, staples, tacks, tape, mini light bulbs, drill bits, marigold seeds, sockets, twist ties, ripped pantyhose, old socks, denim, shoelaces, gloves, toy jacks, bouncy balls, birthday candles, putty, pencils, pens, crochet hooks, paintbrushes, salt, buttons, model paint, cigarette lighters, screwdrivers, 9-volt batteries, wire, string, scissors. It was quite the assortment that had to be passed down or tossed away after she died and was no longer the one that everyone went to for everything. Fighting back tears, the battle after the battle. This next piece is called Jeremy's Poem. I went to school with a kid, high school, grew up, adult man. A few months ago, went missing. Family look, posted all over Facebook, and a few weeks later they found him. Jeremy's Poem. From a distance, these dark birds all sound the same, sitting in the top of a dying pine tree, screaming into the cold morning air for no damn good reason. The sun tears my eyes as I stare. I turn away. The birds go quiet. The river still rushes forward, deep and unconcerned. Everybody looks in all the wrong places until they don't. God's private line, a mother's prayers, sent a voicemail. And this last piece, it wasn't even printed. I printed it late Wednesday. I wasn't going to read it. I read it for the last time. But you know, on Wednesday in Kansas City, there was another mass shooting. So Wednesday about 6:30, Chrissy and I are sitting there in the front room watching the news, eating some turkey sandwiches. Like, man, this shit happens all the time. 2 gunshots. City Park right across the street from us, not even 200 yards. 2 high school kids, both shot, killed. So I printed this. It's a found poem. So, all headlines. This is called AP News with my morning coffee, which I frequently do on Sundays. When I drink my coffee, I'll pull up the AP News. Life in prison for shooting a man to death on the floor of a casino. Trooper fatally shot the driver of a semi-truck during a traffic stop on Interstate 44. 2 police fatally shot a man while serving a warrant at the wrong house. Dennis, shot by law enforcement outside of a strip club early Friday morning, has died. Police say a 3-year-old child and 2 adults are dead after being shot during an argument over an apparent dog sale. More gunshots than ghosts, filling every empty space imaginable. The latest mass killing in the United States happened at a suburban Chicago home. 2 children and 3 dogs were found fatally shot. The mother of a 6-year-old boy who shot his teacher in Virginia will remain free on bond. A woman and a man have died after a shooting inside a Georgia Walmart. Searching for suspects in the shooting of a housing development that wounded 5 people. A gunman murdered 14 students. All the living have their opinions, but I think we should ask the dead. The shooting of 2 police officers outside of a Dollar General store. Customer opened fire at a Georgia Waffle House, wounding 3 people who were paying for their food. 1 person has been killed and 3 others have been wounded in a shooting. A pregnant woman on a bus was hit by gunfire and delivered a baby that later died. They fatally shot a man who went on a rampage with a chainsaw at a Motel 6 3 years ago. Police say a 3-year-old has been grazed by a bullet while lying in her bed. Sounds of a dying day. News cycles of death and destruction on repeat.
You know, Victor, you're reading really somber material, and the whole time I was thinking about the time that we were on that thing with John Compton. He was like, and there's that, and that's that poem.
And that's that poem.
Yeah. This little voice stays in your head. All right. So, with that, I am going to ask Bela to come up and read.
Hi, I have not read poetry. I have 3 poems tonight. gonna start with, I'm gonna start with pain, and then go to power, and then go to nothing. So that kind of goes along with the titles of the poems, but I'm also just going from longest to shortest because knowing pain. Pain, an old friend, a new beginning. The weight which falls and is lifted, like the ebb and flow of a fluid, the forms identical from great distance and alien under a microscope. Some can survive only under your shadow. Some only know you in contrast to light. No one that comprehends your purpose can ever escape you. Anyone who does not may never feel the depth of your liberating opposite. Delicately balancing extremes of the universe, do you collide like physics or fact, or do you blend like emotion into the horizon? Are you the distance of each revolution, the built-in countdown of sunrises and sets? You contain every unimaginable thought, that we are but vessels for. Why exist only to understand the lack of something? Only being here to learn what to forget? This is why so many you fill with hate call you home. You are feared, loved, turned into a prophet, and for what? To eradicate your own existence? Like the restless souls you consume, insatiable hunger and pure fulfillment are unwinnable trophies set forth. Maybe you've struck a deal with ecstasy. Even so, us mere flesh sacks must be left to imagine. We imagine everything all at once or nothing at all. The constant sway of duality in nature should be enough to drive even you mad, or why would? You are the fuel of infinity, though your adversary may disagree. If the straight-edged blade of time could cut a line between you and love, what would its name be? It wouldn't. You are inseparable from each other as we are from you. Your very existences as we know them depend on us as we depend on you. This one is called Huntress, and it is about changing and becoming something different and new, whether or not it's with power, fear, love, just living. Let go. Lose control. Give up the part of yourself tying you to the unrealistic expectations on this plane of existence. Float and ground. For in is out and up is down. Everything is whole. It snaps, it bends, transforms, and with a shove, it's gone. The feeling has left the presence of inexplicable knowledge and the endless void that is your consciousness. A gift, a burden, an experience that sways like a flame in the mind. No one may touch this. It is for you. It is you. The new concepts that cloud and flow through your vessel cannot be explained, let alone understood. You may use this tool as power or vulnerability. It will do for you what you will let it. Will do for you what you let it. However, it cannot leave. This tattoo of the soul has joined your present form. Invite this. For when the mind of an animal turns away from its instincts, it is left defenseless unto itself. The last one I have typed up but not written down, so I have to go into my phone, sadly. This is nothing. Nothing. If it were up to me, I would do absolutely nothing. All day, every day. My life and mind would be a peaceful, boring, manila void. I would have no worry nor thought of days to come. Binging my way through trauma, yawning away the pressure of responsibility. Though I've never really been a fan of pastels. A blank canvas is always less beautiful than the worn and beaten masterpiece. The capacity is equal to the potential. In our modern world, no space is to be taken for granted unless it is yours and you so choose. Thank you.
If you're new to poetry, remember it's like cigarettes, it's never too late to quit. find some young people in Indiana, because I was like, you can change your life. But, all right. So with that, I am gonna bring up Liz.
I don't write very often, and I almost always write from a place of trauma. So my stuff is heavy. I don't know what else to say about it. But I try to, throw something in every once in a while. So the first one I'm going to read is called Off, and it's pretty short. I feel off today. How do you feel off? I feel just not right. My skin is too tight, constricting my nerves. My ears are too sensitive for the howling silence. My brain is clawing at my mind, trying to get out of its bony prison. My limbs are leaden, like so many bags of last week's trash. I just feel off. Okay, so a little while ago, 3 years ago, I lost my mom, who a lot of you knew, and then 3 months later, I lost my best friend. So I'm going to read one about my mom, and then I'm going to read one about losing my best friend. So, heavy. So anyway, my mom, this is called She. She was iron, forged by pain and hardship. She was glass, colorful and sparkling. She was a torch, fiery and stubborn in the wind. She was a beacon. You could always follow her to safety. She was a goddess of protection, gathering innocence under her wing. She was an odyssey, adventures never ending. She was a luxurious duvet, ever offering comfort, warmth, and softness. She was a pillow, a soft place for me to lay my worries down. She was a firework over far too soon. So I got a call from my best friend's sister-in-law to tell me that she was 43 and she had a massive heart attack, and they got her heart restarted, but her brain just didn't make it. So this is called She Died Next Tuesday. My best friend died next Tuesday. She was my person. She got me. I wasn't sure of her at first. It took a minute. My best friend died next Tuesday. 11 years? 12? Not enough years. Not enough to be done. My best friend died next Tuesday. She was my errands bitch. Boring shit to do was done together. She was my commuting co-pilot. Years driving to a job we both hated. My best friend died next Tuesday. No more startled gasps at her insane driving. Never picking up some Marlboro Reds and a Pepsi for her again. My best friend died next Tuesday. No more discussion of politics, how people are idiots. No more laughing hysterical at one another's exploits. My best friend died next Tuesday. No more place to run when life at home gets too much to bear. No more back road driving until the tears stop. My best friend died next Tuesday when they pulled the plug.
And thank you, Liz. I know it's hard. You know, everyone coming up here is hard, but depending on what your circumstances. But with that, I'm going to bring up Ken Gerke.
So, I've been following a woman, a blogger, for years, and she travels around the country with an RV, pulls it with her truck, fifth wheel, everywhere, and her current spot is in Pecos, Texas, and in her latest blog, and she only posts maybe once or twice a year, but in her latest blog, she talked about how she takes on the name of the last place that she was. So, that is Pecos. Oh, by the way, what I did from the blog was I did an erasure. I don't do them very often, but it's an erasure. Pecos. Anywhere her home. She walked like a mirage, hands in a circle twirl for balance, a gypsy wandering in the shadows. Ghost opportunities along the way remind her of the falling light, a lonely traveler before she was there. Pecos, not her name. Thank you. And I'm going to read, not as short as that, but a couple short poems I wrote last week. On the water, currently influenced, direction, a matter of conjecture, decided by each stroke, turn of the paddle. All that streams past, sights on shore, flight of owl, water, the element that calls them back, calls me back every time. My kayak with one more leaf drifting, influenced by the current. Enter as if you will never leave. Should you be blind to the world's greatest cathedral, know that it exists all around you, yet takes a conscious effort to enter. Once you do, consider the beauty of the sky above, the trees that breathe in unison with you, and the creatures with which you share this wonder. Do not be spoiled of the gifts that it offers. Nature does not begrudge your daily life, though it may be the greater part of your being. It asks only for your understanding that it is as much a part of you as you are a part of it. And this poem was featured by Amethyst Review about a week and a half ago, I think. Impatient spring. Warm morning light eases the transition from melting snow to winter lawn. 4 robins skip across the turf, pausing to peck at both soil and snow, ignoring juncos and wrens that forage for dropped seeds below a feeder monopolized by a cardinal, titmouse, and chickadee. I step outside for the morning paper, greeted by the call of another robin high in the white oak that towers over the yard. Snow is still banked beside the driveway, witness to shoveling during last week's introduction to February. Beside it and below the oak lies bare lawn. The robin calls to me as if to say, snow may fall again, but we are here and there is no stopping spring. I'm from Western New York, and we never see robins in winter. They migrate, but here they're here all the time. So. Okay, and then I'm going to read 2 of my random riffs. The first one, I know I've read here more than once, but it's one of my favorites. And it was in a recent issue of River Dog Z. So, driving with Primus. Well, that was not a planned stop. Take powdery snow on a slick, wet road. Throwing an RV rolling over in front of me, blocking the interstate. Now, if that ain't rude, that's a city boy for you, driving like that in the winter? Sit there in the cold and dark, waiting for him to haul that crushed rolling cabin out of there. When traffic starts crawling again, slipping and sliding along, it might as well be a southbound pachyderm. That's when I know it's time to get off at Terre Haute and park my ass in a hotel. But now it's morning, and it's back on the road again. Les talking to me with his bass reminded me I'll do anything to get there so my baby can lie down by my side. I think I'll just let that fat bass drive me home. And this last one, driving to Wyoming, Shelby. Yeah, so random riffs, they refer to music. So, yeah. And this one, maybe you can figure it out. Tomorrow. A sitar drones, thoughts drum through my mind, ease into acceptance. West on I-70 to KC, then north and west. North Platte eventually. Tomorrow, Casper. Great trip on a great day. Beads on the windshield can't obscure the loss waiting at the other end. Semis, the whole. My road unclear. Drums and vocals urge me to lay down all thoughts, but mine stay in the present. Still, the words remind me to know is to believe, that love is all. This grayscape takes on the colors of my dreams. I may mourn the dead, but I will celebrate the living. Nothing expendable, everyone essential. Always forward, holding close those important to me. Every day is a new beginning. Tomorrow never knows.
Say that our next event is March 30th, but we will meet again a week later, April 6th, and we're going to have the guy who was the very first state poet laureate of Missouri, Walter Bargan. He will be here with us, so you won't have a long wait in between. All right, so with that, I'm not going to make any funny remarks about this next gentleman or his wonderful hat, but he is here with us today, Mr. Jason Weeper. Look at you looking surly. Don't give me that look. You said that I could insert you anywhere, and I don't want to think about what that means.
No, that's not it. Where is it? Here we go. 9 Below Zero, or the who, what, where, when, why, and how of it all. 9 Below Zero, don't care who you are, who you know, or who your daddy is. 9 Below Zero, don't care what you think, what you want, or what your astrological sign is. 9 Below Zero, don't care where you come from, where you did your master's thesis, or where you're in such a hurry to be. 9 Below Zero, don't care when your birthday is, when the rent is due, or even when the end of the world is coming. 9 Below Zero, don't care why you're here, why you think you deserve only the best things in life, or why you act the way you do sometimes. 9 Below Zero, don't care how much money you make, how you make your money, or how much your wristwatch costs. No, 9 Below Zero don't give a damn about the who, what, where, when, why, and how of it all. Because 9 Below Zero is 9 Below Zero and falling. This poem is insufferably clever.
Really?
Yeah, I know.
All right.
Plum or plum. There, just outside my living room window, are 6 standard issue old school rusty mailboxes on top of 6 wooden posts and a street sign at an intersection that says Highway 23 and North Plum. Each one leaning at just a slightly different angle, each one pointing to a wildly divergent set of coordinates up there in the night sky, looking down on us at all the time, that are in turn separated themselves by millions of light years. And each one of them with a planet that's almost like ours, maybe. But you know what the one thing is I keep coming back to? Why would these people name their street Plum instead of Plum? Still breathing. All the downtown buildings look like giant tombstones. And the moon hangs in a bird cage from the sky, and the streets are strewn with wet plastic bags and bar band flyers. And a lone drunk is holding up a lamppost while trying to smoke a butt he's found on the sidewalk, as if it had just been there, waiting for him, still good, still breathing, as he steadies himself against the lamppost again, ready for the universe to bring another savage round of jabs and body blows, both of them knowing there's no way he's going to throw this damn fight. What we're really talking about here, what if what we're all really talking about here is not merely an issue of wants or desires, thumbs up for jobs well done or shiny gold stars for outstanding performances and all that, but instead, maybe the genuine need for existential care and treatment, that if and when it finally arrives, will we have all signed off already in a waiver form under economic duress, no doubt, agreeing to have our conditions merely stabilized and then be re-released back into the gen pop, our own recognizance to fend for ourselves? Or will we have just forgotten ever having needed help in the first place? Hell, it could be by that time we might not even be the same person anymore who originally placed the call. And while we may have moved on and gotten over it and grown stronger in that stone-faced Nietzschean sense of the word, we might not have ever healed quite right. Cupcake Land. Last night, before I went to bed, I opened the back door and saw the stars galloping over the sea of grass behind our house and all the other houses on this dead-end cul-de-sac that was once going to be the gateway to a swank future Cupcake Land where beautiful families would be free and safe from people like me and my neighbors. But I guess all of the cash ran out, progress ground to a halt, and now there's nothing out here but a white trash cul-de-sac surrounded by acres of grass. Thank you.
Say that first book that Jason was reading from is a new publication by a new anthology by Myrtle House, which is a publisher out of St. Louis. So very cool. But all right. So I've got 3 more people on the list before I will read a single piece myself. But so I thank you guys for sticking with us through all of this tonight. I know we have more readers than we normally do, and this has been awesome. Jason,
what?
You're going to talk about this and share with the rest of the class. Come on, man.
You got candy in your pocket.
Yeah, I do have candy. All right. I'll show you what I do with candy. All right. Okay, so the next person on this list I'm going to call up is Mark.
Stacia's not here, so I can read this one. Okay. A few years back, I went in for a very simple surgery. Be out of the hospital by 2 o'clock that afternoon, and 7 surgeries after that, I was finally, and 8 months after that, I was finally healed. So this one's entitled Dr. No Regard. Dr. No Regard completed the procedure he had set out to do, completely oblivious to the damage he had wrought elsewhere as he worked. Dr. No Regard, so secure in his national renown as a surgeon, closed without checking the area for possible damage caused by his hurried endeavors. Dr. No Regard walked out of the OR to visit the family in the appointed room, exclaiming his own brilliance and how surgery was a complete success. Dr. No Regard didn't see his patient that day. He had more surgeries to perform. So the patient's pain from what he left behind did not bother him at all. Dr. No Regard ambled into his patient's room 2 days later, did not ask about the pain he had inflicted, and again declared the surgery a success. And just so you know, I actually got through that without crying. I normally don't. This one, 3 years after that initial surgery, I had to have a final surgery to fix the whole problem. And this was written the night before that surgery, and it's entitled, Fuck You, No Regard. I hate crying, and tonight, 3 years later, I am crying in my baby's arms because of you and your surgery that was such a success. I wrote this poem a while back, and I originally had entitled it, the title is Too Many Books. I had originally entitled it T-O-O Many Books. And when I put it on Facebook, I don't put very many of my poems on Facebook. When I did, I had it titled T-O Many Books. Too Many Books. And I like that title afterwards. Poetry can have really happy, funny, fun mistakes, and I think that's pretty cool. Too Many Books for Stacia and Julianne. I heard a woman tell her husband, "You have too many books." And I just didn't understand. One simply cannot have too many books in life. Books feed the soul like a tender steak dinner feeds the body. But books will never add an inch to your waistline, so read all you want. Books quench your thirst for knowledge like a fine wine quenches our desire. But books will never harm our liver, so read all you want. I have books on my shelves that I have yet to open, but I know that they are there, like a new friend waiting to take me on some adventure when I am ready. Too many books? I call BS on that strange notion. As long as I have books, I will never have too many books. And the last one I'll read, I write a lot of elegies, and in elegies you can put what people don't put on their eulogies usually. So this one's entitled Scott. He was a cousin of mine. As you lay dying in that bed, I thought back to when we were both much younger. You sat so proudly on the back of a saddle tramp in your brown cowboy shirt and straw Stetson. The smile on your face told the world of your confidence. I let my mind drift a few years, and you stood at attention with tears streaming down your cheeks as a bugler played a military farewell to your Uncle Robert. You stood in salute, showing your love and reverence for this bigger-than-life man. Then there Then we were there on the banks of my pond as my family all camped over Memorial Day weekend. I recall the exaggerated look on your face when Thomas caught that whopper of a catfish. You carried on about that 6-inch fish, and Thomas's chest swelled with pride. Then, in your fashion, you chose a teaching moment for my 10-year-old son. You showed him how to gut and skin and fish the fish, and how to wrap it in tinfoil with salt, pepper, and butter, and cook it in the campfire. He looked like a king eating his favorite meal, and you smiled that shit-eating grin of yours the whole time. Just a decade later, the bottle had taken over, and you were different in so many ways. However, if I came to visit Mitch when you were there, you would have that same shit-eating grin on your face as you said, "Well, Markle, what the hell are you doing out here?" And now, they will carry you to that same hill where Robert rests, and I will choose to remember the boy on tramp with a shit-eating grin on his face.
Have you ensnare some more of those Jefferson City people here. But, all right, so with that, I am just going to call up Mindy.
Hello, my name is Mindy Romani. I'm a clown. I've got a couple poems here. This is from my most recent chapbook. It's called You and Bobby McGee. This poem's called Heritage. My mom's side is Romany, my dad's side is hillbilly. They met in Germany, both soldiers in the army. Trailer parks and chop shops and card tricks run deep in my veins. Always moving, always hiding, always catching a lick, and a campfire all year round. They argued over whether I would say garbage or trash, but it all comes out in the wash, and it all burns the same. My life of crime is over. I sell my secrets for cigarette money. This is from a chapbook I did last fall called Performance Anxiety. This poem's about being restless. Those that can't, teach. Those that can't, write poetry. Those that can, build boats, string ropes, put on a floating circus down the Mississippi. From her car seat, she said, "You smell like water." This last one's called 5.5 Mass Extinctions. Diana gave me boxes of yarn when she learned about the cancer swelling her torso. What would I do with it? Baby pink from the 80s, unfinished projects for her dead daughter. It was summer, so I thought, on the jellyfish. I browsed the blighted bookstore and found a novel, The Thing About Jellyfish. When I was nearly finished knitting, I started reading. It said jellyfish move like a ghost heart. All through summer and into fall, I took my knitting with me, and people asked what I was crocheting. I would say I'm knitting, and it's a jellyfish. I wish I had the words to tell them I'm sculpting a ghost heart. The book goes on to describe, like a heart you can see right through, into some other world where everything you ever lost has gone to hide. I stitched that world all summer, hiding out in the Ozarks because I lost myself. Towards the end of my knitting, I was at deer camp when Ashley inquired, "What will you do with it?" I wondered, what do we do with anything?
The first piece, Elizabeth told you about Dawn, my late wife, and she was wonderful. She died, it'll be 3 years ago, a week from Monday. So she's on my mind this time of year. This piece is called Forgiveness. When the hospitalist said she was dying, when he told her she would not live a month, she let go of my hand, turned her back to me, would not talk to me for a day. I know she thought I knew and kept her in the dark. She only punished me with silence for a day for something I had not done. She was always quick to forgive. And with that, I'm just going to read one more poem, but I'm going to say something about Belle. History is important. This building used to be a fabric store 50 years ago. My late wife was a seamstress, and she loved this place. She came here and she bought all the material that was on sale, which was soon to be obsolete, but she loved it, and she kept it like a jewel. She had like 3 big paper barrels with snap rings full of fabric, which included, among other things, like green plaid polyester leisure suit material. and we took this wherever we moved, and she would periodically take it out. It would be in like trash bags, and she would take it out and inspect it to be sure that it wasn't damp or anything. And Jocelyn, this is for you. Eventually, we figured out what to do with it. We gave it to Ozark Actors Theater for period costumes.
Yay, thank you.
I probably moved to Belle before you were born, Ed. How old were you?
48.
I moved here before you were born. So the town has changed quite a bit. This piece I wrote during COVID when I was poet laureate for Belle, and I couldn't figure out what else to do. So I wrote this poem called Belle, Missouri. Some things change, other things look just the same. Lortz's supermarket is gone. Western Auto is no more. Both August and Taylor sing a good song. What happened to the ABC store? My old classroom at Belle High looks the same after 45 years. John Thomas's service station was torn down, but Sam has opened up just outside of town. Doug Rector no longer lifts a hood. He fixed my air conditioning when none of the dealerships could. Modern Barbershop was a meeting place for old men with wrinkled face. Jim Thomas cut hair and laughed and lied. No one could outstory Jim. No one ever tried. There were many electrified fishing trips planned at the Modern as the perpetrators scanned the room trying to identify interlopers. It would be sad if they found such a joker. The bounty of those telephone jingles were shared by many. Fried catfish claimed by some to make your teeth jingle. Old Silver was a crank telephone's name, now in possession of the conservation because of its fame. There was a strip mall at the four-way stop, sinks, the library, a bank, and an insurance shop. There's not much space, but the food's good at the Greek Place. Some folks say JJ's has the best fried chicken. I prefer the catfish. His salad bar's slim picking. The bread pudding is my favorite dish. The Tasty Freeze has soft serve if a cone's for you. Kids gathered there then, and some still do. I'm always confused as to which eatery is the dinner bell, or the country bell. Yesterday's hardware store is now a pool hall. Woolies Market ditched the food, now antiquers call. Esther's turned into a book and candle store. Trains used to run through Belle, but not anymore. The fabric store is now an art gallery. The old auto dealer is now the Dirty Castle. And the best entrance is through the alley. Don't walk down the railroad tracks to avoid a hassle. The lumber yard and Kingsford Warehouse have both gone south. MFA and the Sinclair station are no more. There are new businesses in an economic drought. Not all bad, but the new owners don't live next door. The years, they come and go, like spring flowers and winter snow. The young won't change, the old rarely do. The young grow old, and on the other foot is the shoe. It's surely a small town tradition to remember the good and forget the bad. That's the human condition. It's just life. Don't be sad. Lift your face and feel the sun. Let its warmth melt the ice of fear. Reach out to your neighbor. Give them your hand. It's tough to be alone, but together it's easier to stand. Small towns grow a different breed. Some think it's nurture, not the seed. My experience tells me, yes indeed. Strong plants grow from nourishment and good seed. Thank you.
John, more than 48 years in Bell, give you less time for murder.
There's been a few around here, John.
I'm sure they have. And the night is young. So I'm going to read one poem because Jason Mayer asked me if I was going to read a poem. It is not mine. I like to read this gentleman a lot. He's a close friend of mine. He lived, Scott Wanberg. He lived in Los Angeles from 1953 until about 2008 when he moved to Oregon, but he passed away in 2011. He was primarily a poet, but he also did some acting. He was in the movie I Heart Huckabees, and he was good friends with Ed Harris and Viggo Mortensen, and was just a really special person. But he wrote this poem. It's called Ride Your Horse as If He Knows Your Name. The dark is having twins in the front parlor. And Uncle Nowhere wants to be their agent. Ride your horse as if he knows your name. The terrain can be treacherous if you don't have a plan. Aunt Seismograph and Cousin Vaudeville, they hang laundry to dry in the rain. I take them snorkeling, but I never took a dive. Men and women think they know each other. I see them scratching their hearts in the classifieds. This clubhouse was built for everyone. Don't die defending it against an enemy you created. I'd like to open a box that says, learn to live. I build my house out of hurt skin. You could come in out of the storm. You could even take control of the remote. Ride through the fog as if you were determined to get somewhere. Just about now, any place can and shall do. Tell me any story you can remember. I got time and no place that demands me. Tell me any lie that shall get you home. My ears are just that young. Again, there are books over there, both by people who read tonight, as well as some titles that are just specifically done by OAC that have been published over the last few years. Those were largely available at AWP, which we all sort of returned from with the flu. Thank you, academics. But, all right, so with that, I just want to say again, March 30th, Saturday, 6 p.m., we will be here. Jim McGowan, Rick Christensen, open mic by you. If you were here, I hope you are. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. This has been fantastic. I hope it just keeps growing. I feel better every time we have more people, which I know doesn't matter, but I get a little sad in my heart when we're just kind of sitting here with very few people. But thank you so much. Thank you. Mark, thank you so much for being here. This is awesome. We will be here again March 30th, 6 o'clock. Thank you, guys.